Hello and good evening. You are watching Newsplus right here on ZTN Prime. It is a Monday, a brand new start to the week. Here's to hoping you did have a restful weekend. My name is Faith Nyaude. Let's take a quick look at stories that are making the headlines tonight. The President of Zimbabwe has handed over vehicles to the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. Now, he did say that government is committed to addressing the welfare and condition of service for the ZDF, including the entire public service, with efforts already underway. The President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, did hand over these vehicles as part of conditions of service for senior army officials. We shall also give you highlights on Newsplus analysis of the President's speech at the United Nations General Assembly, where he was represented by Foreign Affairs Minister Professor Eamon Morera. Police in Zimbabwe are reporting an increase in cases of armed robbery. Details that are coming up here on Newsplus. And in sport, Nawaya leads PSL Golden Boot race as the dreams of Warriors call up are slowly coming to reality. In our first report this evening, President Emmerson Mnangagwa says that his government is committed to addressing the welfare and conditions of service of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, including the entire public service. The President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, today handed over 102 vehicles to the Defense Forces as part of the conditions of service for senior army officials. We get more details from this report.
All in all, the Zimbabwe Defense Forces will get over 700 vehicles, with the consignment being augmented by a batch of buses, allowing intra-city and intercity movement of the forces. At this year's Defense Forces commemorations held in August, the President committed government to providing vehicles for senior officers, and today's commissioning was a partial fulfillment, with the rest of the vehicles expected to be delivered by mid-next year.
You will recall in December 2024, I handed over a batch of 54 staff and utility vehicles at a ceremony held at Zoresekwa. During this year's celebrations of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces Day, I reiterated that the addressing of the welfare and conditions of service.
President Mnangagwa says the allocation of the vehicles is a strategic investment that will ultimately aid in the realization of national development aspirations. He said the initiative would also enable the Defense Forces to effectively execute their constitutional mandate,
while adding value to your respective offices, duty stations, and overall work of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces.
Defense Minister Opa Mchingudi says it is encouraging that President Mnangagwa continues to champion initiatives that empower the Zimbabwe Defense Forces.
Your Excellency, to indicate that the issue of the military salary concept remains outstanding, and once again we appeal for your kind consideration.
Last year, the President handed over 54 staff and utility vehicles at a ceremony held in Harare to the Zimbabwe Defense Forces.
In other news, Zimbabwe maintained its call for comprehensive reforms to the United Nations governance system, including the Security Council, as the world marks 80 years since the signing of the UN Charter. Now, speaking on behalf of President Emmerson Mnangagwa at the 80th session of the UN General Assembly in New York, Foreign Affairs and International Trade Minister Professor Eamon Morera said reforms must be inclusive and reflective of today's global realities.
With world leaders gathered under the bright lights of New York City, Zimbabwe's message cut through the global buzz: peace, equality, and partnership. President Mnangagwa, through his envoy Professor Eamon Morera, said multilateralism remains the cornerstone of Harare's foreign policy.
As Zimbabwe, we have anchored our foreign policy on multilateralism, guided by the principle of sovereignty, equality, and peaceful coexistence among nations. We believe that no nation can prosper in isolation.
The address builds on a 3-year journey of diplomatic consistency, a story of a nation reclaiming its voice on the world stage. In 2023, President Mnangagwa stood before world leaders calling for debt cancellation and restructuring, a move to give developing nations room to grow. He pressed for UN Security Council reform, urged concrete climate action, and demanded the lifting of unjustified sanctions on Zimbabwe and Cuba. In 2024, his voice echoed with urgency for sustainable development goals, calling on the world to accelerate action, boost funding, and embrace innovation. He tied Zimbabwe's Vision 2030 to the global agenda, championing inclusion, gender equality, and innovative financing and development. Fast forward to 2025, Zimbabwe's message is firmly rooted in global solidarity, a call for fairness, dialogue, and shared prosperity.
Working with other member states, Zimbabwe has contributed towards the resolution of conflicts in the region, including the spearheading of joint diplomatic efforts with the East African Community under the auspices of SADC in the search for peace in Eastern DRC. Our consistent contribution to UN peacekeeping missions in conflict areas is a testimony to our commitment towards peace.
Guided by this legacy, Zimbabwe is seeking a non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council for the period 2027 to 2028, a move seen as deepening its global engagement.
Guided by this legacy of commitment to peace, Zimbabwe has presented its candidature for a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for the term 2027-2028. Determined to share its experiences and make its contributions in promotion of a safe and secure world for all.
At the heart of the President's message, a passionate appeal for the unconditional removal of sanctions. Sanctions that have, for over 2 decades, strangled access to capital, blocked investment, and slowed progress. International relations expert Lazarus Sauti says Zimbabwe's push aligns with Africa's long-standing demand for equitable representation on the Security Council.
The president made it so clear that here in Zimbabwe we are not only striving towards achieving durable peace, but he made a plea to all other international actors to also promote positive peace in their respective countries. Remember, we have wars everywhere in this world, and the time is now for the United Nations, especially the Security Council, should act and deal with such wars.
Sauti also notes that Zimbabwe's call for reforms extends to global financial systems, which remain skewed against developing countries.
So the speech was very clear in terms of climate change and climate change proofing, in terms of economic development, that is fair trade, critical minerals, also in terms of building blocks that can stimulate economic growth, especially in a country like ours that is anchored on mineral resources and agriculture.
Meanwhile, a governance expert, Dr. Matarusa, says the UN 80th anniversary offers a timely moment for reflection and renewal.
He made commentary about the status of the international finance system, the international political economy, how it was skewed, in particular for the rich countries, at the disadvantage, of developing countries. This was an important speech that he made, where he said it's important to uphold the SDG principles.
As Zimbabwe's flag flutters outside the United Nations headquarters, its message rings true: a friend to all, an enemy to none. A call for an international system where every nation, big or small, has a seat at the table. Ibn Mabunda, ZTN Prime.
Now, Vice President Kembo Mahadi has left Harare for Japan to attend the Osaka Expo 2025. Now, before departure, he met with Japanese Ambassador Shinichi Yamanaka, who described the visit as a key step in deepening ties between Zimbabwe and Japan. The trip follows similar high-level visits by President Emerson Mnangagwa and Speaker of Parliament Jacob Mudenda earlier this year. The Osaka Expo, which opened in April, is running under the theme Designing Future Society for Our Lives and will run up until the 13th of October.
I just paid a courtesy call to the Honorable Vice President Mohadi just before his departure to Japan. It is my great honor, Honorable Vice President, visit Japan, especially for Osaka Expo, following the visit of His Excellency President this July and August, and also the visit of the Speaker of the Parliament in the beginning of this month. So I am convinced that the visit of this high-level mission to Japan will contribute to the further expansion and the strengthening of the friendship and cooperation between the two countries.
Now, police have impounded over 180 combis as part of the No to Unroadworthy Combis operation in Harare Phase 1 and warned transporters to ensure compliance. During a visit to Milton Police Station, National Police spokesperson Commissioner Paul Nyati sternly warned transporters to be compliant or risk losing their vehicles.
Today, Commissioner Ponyat visited the place and assessed the situation. He assured that no combis will be released without proper adjudication. And right here, as you can see, these are some of the combis which are being used on the roads to ferry passengers as the public motor vehicles. And the police are emphasizing that they will leave no one behind, especially those who go against the law.
During this massive operation in Harare alone, 186 unroadworthy vehicles have been impounded. And sadly, you realize that most of these are public service vehicles where the windows are broken. Some of them are fitted with cardboard boxes, some of them with plastic papers. You also have vehicles tied with wires, yet they are carrying passengers. And it is also a puzzle to realize that some of these vehicles, they are labeled that they belong to certain associations. Then you tend to wonder, how are they operating under those so-called associations? And we are also concerned that these vehicles are carrying passengers, yet the lives of passengers are at stake.
However, combi driver Shadrack Signoro said there's a need for increased awareness among all ranks to prevent drivers from being caught unaware.
Vapinda mumarengi vodzidzisa vanhu first, then kana vadzidzisa vanhu first vochizotanga ita sei, vozotanga kuenforce, because you cannot enforce mutemo usingazikanwi. Imwe mutemo unotouzwa ipapo kune mutemo wakati, but hauizivi. Ukati ndivhurire schedule, anokuudza kuti handina schedule panapa enda kustation.
Some of the combi drivers and touts expressed concerns over what they believe as surprise arrest by police. A combi driver, Prince Muchena, is contemplating quitting his trade. Other Commuter omnibus drivers argue that sometimes the police make arbitrary arrests, disregarding the available paperwork. Zimbabwe United Deregulated Commuter Operators President Frederick Magura Minga says they are worried about the lack of compliance by some of their members.
As an organization, we always tell our operators, make sure that your vehicle goes through the VID process, where it goes for inspection, and also the passenger insurance, and also all other documents that are needed. However, we've got challenges. Sometimes there are delays, sometimes the cost of these papers are so high.
As you can see, these are all the combis which have been packed here, awaiting to face justice. And the police are emphasizing that they are going to be thorough when it comes to criminals who will be found wanting. Latu Nyangu reporting for ZN Prime at Newton Police Station.
An increase in armed robbery cases. We give you details when Newsplus comes back after this.
Good evening and welcome to the greatest show on earth.
This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come.
Let's go!
Wherever you are, whatever your reason, it's on SuperSport all season long. Reconnect and stay connected to DSTV Compact and get the best football on us.
Harare, tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's top radio station.
Join the conversation with Zimbabwe's top personalities.
Subscribe now for fresh and infotainment content daily.
Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's heartbeat.
Catch exclusive interviews every weekday for candid, exciting, and thought-provoking conversations with your host, Erika Ndoro.
We talk about arts, we can talk about sports, we can even talk about politics, and sometimes we venture into a nice guitaristic play.
The one story where you can't get out of your head. Wakatarisa munhu so Erika like where you are sitting. Ndozongokona bata face so pasina munhu.
Wakasiya music yako yo afro chakuti ndo music manje no Zimbabwe.
And I'm sure they're still saying the same thing now.
Yeah, so Shona kana kuti chindevere kana mumwe mutauri muno muZimbabwe ndiwe iwewe. Ndiwo rupawo rwako. Ndicho chidadiso chako.
Catch me, Erika Ndoro, right here on ZTN Prime every single Monday at 7 p.m. whilst we get exclusive.
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. Now, armed robbery cases are on the rise, with a 4% increase being witnessed from January to date compared to the same period last year. Deputy Commissioner General of the Zimbabwe Republic Police, Lencube, revealed this before a Parliament Portfolio Committee in a closed-door meeting that was held earlier today. The police was summoned by the Defense and Security Portfolio Committee to speak on the proliferation of armed robbery cases. Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Defense and Security Chairperson Xavier Maoneke spoke to journalists after the meeting.
Generally, crime rate, overall crime rate is decreased, but robbery rate is increased a bit, mainly because of harsh economic conditions prevailing at the moment, and also, as you are aware, the issue of some of our Asian friends who are involved in mining. They are not banking their money. But already these miners, they are not banking, so they are attractive to these robbers.
In Yamandlovu, Matebeleland North's Umguza district, 12 dedicated farmers have turned barren land into productive fields. Our correspondent, Theseus Shambare, reports from the Phaphamani irrigation scheme.
Many were called, but only a few were chosen. The phrase echoed through the ages, but a reminder that the journey to greatness is not for the faint of heart. From 120 pioneers, only 12 remained. Phaphamani, meaning wake up, became their call to action. These 12 resilient farmers have transformed a dusty land into a bread basket. Interestingly, the number 12 has always carried symbolism. From the 12 tribes of Israel to the 12 disciples, it often marks completeness and purpose. For these farmers, however, it is a symbol of resilience.
Si-establisha uPhaphamani lo abantu babanengi and abanye sesiphakathi silokho sihamba, they started to retreat.
Survival was never easy. Years of sweat with little to show for it, but they carried the weight of hope.
Before that, we could hardly produce something which is substantive.
The transformation began with a mindset shift. The farmers were taught to think beyond subsistence. In the current winter cropping season, Phaphamani is among the irrigation schemes driving Zimbabwe's wheat revolution. From just 15 hectares, they are expecting a record 100 tons, feeding into the country's target of 120,000 hectares. Backed by government support and partnerships, the scheme is thriving.
We can't ask for a better demonstration of concept that we can do it in Matabeleland as much as we can do it in any other part of the country.
International partners have also taken notice, seeing Phaphamani as a model of resilience and sustainability.
Hope that we'll continue working together to sustain this resource for the future and for the food security and nutrition of the population of Zimbabwe.
Beyond water and seed, farmers also needed financial wisdom, tools to run their farms like lasting businesses.
We also add financial literacy to it all. We teach the farmers that a loan from a bank, is supposed to be paid back because farming is a business.
And as the sun sets over Umguza, gratitude echoes not just in words, but in song and poetry. The Phaphamani 12 proved that with courage, knowledge, and partnerships, no sweat goes to waste. For ZTN Prime in Umguza, I'm Theseus Shambari.
Now we cross over to our weatherman, James Ngoma, for a quick weather update as the week kicks off. James, good evening, and thank you so much for making the time and for joining us on Newsplus. Now, I'm sure most have noticed the change in the weather in most parts of the country. If you could just break it down for us as we get into the week.
Thank you, Faith, for that question. Looking at the conditions that we had over the past few hours, we had moisture that was drifting in from the west, giving us isolated thunder showers over areas such as your Matabeleland South into Matabeleland North, as well as the Midlands Province, Bulawayo Metropolitan, Masvingo, as well as parts of Mashonaland provinces, where we're having that moisture field feeding in from the west through these provinces into the interior of the country. And we're still expecting a few more showers as we get into the later parts of this evening, where an odd shower or two cannot be ruled out over the Mashonaland provinces. We're still anticipating that more moisture is going to be fed in from the south as we get into tomorrow morning. We're expecting more of the cooler conditions over areas such as Masvingo, Matabeleland South, as well as Manicaland provinces. Thus, we also be accompanied by a lot of rain and drizzle over those southern areas, but nothing very significant to cause any concern. We're still expecting those cooling winds to fade off as we get into Thursday evening and give us more of the sunnier skies as we get towards the weekend.
Now, given the change in the weather patterns, James, is there any warning for the general public?
So the general fear currently is the threat of lightning strikes. So our biggest advice is when thunder rolls, it's best to be indoors. However, the cooling southeasterlies also cause a potential threat of that fluctuation in temperatures. So for the general public, we urge you to always ensure that you're adequately dressed for the weather outdoors, because we're still expecting a few cooling conditions over the southern areas, so that temperature fluctuation can cause a bit of mayhem, especially in the health sector. Those that have got ailments, and also the young and the very elderly. So ensure that they're adequately dressed for both the heat and the cooling conditions that are apparent over the southern areas.
Now, Jim, some might mistake these light showers as a sign to start planting. What is your advice there?
To the farmer, the rains that we have had are very little, and we're still expecting a bit of a dry spell as we get into October. So not very significant rains are projected for the month of October as we are heading forward. Just a few isolated incidences here and there, and this might not be very adequate for farming processes. So it's better to get local advice from your local agri-techs officer in terms of what crop you want to plant and what best conditions suit those crops, so that you know ahead of time what you ought to plant and what to plan for.
Are we most likely to experience this kind of weather as we now head into October?
For the month of October, we're expecting more of the heat. As you know, October is one of our hottest months, and we're expecting above normal in terms of the heat conditions. So we urge you to keep hydrated and always wear a sun hat if you happen to be outdoors, and always keep weather-wise and climate safe.
James Ngoma, our weatherman, just giving us an update and some tabs on what to expect in terms of the weather. James, thank you so much for your time. Now, we have been closely following the buzz sparked by the Department of Urban Planning Services about noise pollution from entertainment events that are troubling residents in Harare's northern suburbs. This is not just a local issue. Residents across the country are feeling the noise, so similar talks will be happening in other neighborhoods too. We have now shared that people are losing sleep because shows are happening right next door to them. Now let's dive into what this could mean for the entertainment scene moving forward.
Many moved into the northern suburbs for peace and quiet, but lately the only thing peaceful is the dream of silence. Perhaps every poodle in the area may now need sleeping pills.
The lights that go every night, the people drinking outside, wandering down the roads, it's really unacceptable, regardless of who owns it.
For entertainers, sports clubs are their only option, as hotels are too expensive and city council halls are either booked or broken. They are not trying to disturb anyone, they say.
I heard them mentioning about the review and the mega city plan that they are coming with, and I would like maybe to call on them to consider this as they are doing these new designs, to consider setting suitable entertainment venues that will be appropriate and won't interfere with the peace that the citizens wish to enjoy.
For creatives, Harare's soul has a rhythm. They are following the issue with keen interest.
I think this situation presents an opportunity for the city of Harare, an opportunity to create designated spaces for entertainment, for bars, for churches, for other things that can actually be happening outside of just the residential areas. So a bit more better planning when it comes to developing such spaces, like what happened in South Africa, Braamfontein in Johannesburg, Maboneng in Johannesburg, is an entertainment and a cultural hub where you find everything cultural, everything creative is happening, but it doesn't interfere with the residential spaces.
On their part, authorities are encouraging event planners to follow the laws as they work with what's available.
So that we start putting standards as to what we define as a concert venue. Because you can't make your backyard a concert venue. So it's a big problem, yes, that we don't have fancy amphitheaters, but with the laws that we've had concerts since the 50s, and we've just been going on. There's also showgrounds. Maybe we can list out that. But I see sometimes it's a case of trying to have as lower costs as possible. So you find as we go forward, we are going to be very hesitant about all-night galas which happen in open football fields near residential areas.
As residents and the arts sector await the resolution, for now, all people want is to sleep in peace and keep the world of entertainment alive.
You are watching Newsplus. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Got some questions about Showmax? Well, we've got the answers. What is Showmax? Showmax is not a TV channel. It's a streaming service with tons of hit series, movies, and more. Plus, Premier League live on mobile. Just pick what you want and hit play. No schedule or airing times. With Showmax, you watch what you want, when you want, and where you want. For any other queries, find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, or TikTok.
Dental checkups, experiments, games.
The mixture is making bubbles and the bubbles have changed color. Our balloon has been filled by carbon dioxide.
We have it all right here on Happy Sprouts. Catch us exclusively on City and Prime, DSTV channel 294.
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. Now, when I look at news from around the world, thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators filled the streets of Cape Town on Saturday, marching towards the parliament to demand an end to what they described as genocide in Gaza. The demonstration, organized by the Al-Quds Foundation, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, the Muslim Judicial Council and others, reportedly culminated in the handing over of a memorandum of demands to a government representative. South Africa has played a prominent role in international legal efforts, filing a case at the International Court of Justice accusing Israel of violating the Genocide Convention. The ICJ ordered provisional measures in January directing Israel to prevent acts of genocide.
This genocide that is happening in Gaza, in Palestine, has been happening since 1948. That is the reason I'm here today. You cannot be watching a live stream genocide with children being massacred, bombed to pieces, babies being torn from the wombs of their mothers, not to feel. Every single day we are seeing people being massacred by the evil, barbaric Zionist state of Israel.
In Nigeria, search and rescue efforts continued at the Kadauri mining site in Zamfara, northern Nigeria. This is after a collapse left at least 100 feet dead, with 18 confirmed fatalities. The mine collapse occurred on Thursday when a rock struck the mine, according to local Nigerian media. Artisanal mining in Zamfara is often carried out with little regulation or safety oversight, leading to frequent accidents.
Wadda muke ciki nan kowa yanzu babu mai wani aiki nan yanzu ma nan zaman da muka yi nan ne ga ainihi muna je wayawa ku ba mu sani ba ko akwai wani wanda da taddanne muna zuwa muna shiga ramin muna dan saurare kaga in muna jin wari yana sa muna gane cewa akwai wani wuri in muna jin yana iska cewa muna gane cewa babu kowa a ciki kuma da ittila'in ya faru kuma kwanan mu biyu yinin mu biyu ana tonon wurin.
The Economic Community of West African States, popularly known as ECOWAS, has been following through with plans to build up a joint counter-terrorism force to improve security in the region, which has been plagued by violence in recent years. Now, for years, several countries in West Africa have been battling some security concerns, this including insurgencies and clashes between farmers and herders. The situation has led to killings and the widespread destruction of property. According to ECOWAS leadership, member states have been aiming to deploy more than 250,000 troops annually at a cost of around $2.5 billion. This comes after plans to form the joint force were agreed to in August.
The effort by ECOWAS now is actually commendable, because without security, whatever we are talking about economic integration, we are not going to see the effect of it. Indigenes of the member states of ECOWAS have gone through a number of, would I say, warfare insurgency crisis, and they have been displaced from their natural homes and are now living in internally displaced people's camps scattered all over the region.
Meanwhile, in Seychelles, they are set to hold a rerun of their presidential elections between the two main contenders after no outright winner was announced during the election. Opposition leader Phaphamani received 48.8% of the vote. This is against the incumbent president Wavo Ramkalawani, who garnered 46.4%. The Electoral Commission did announce this, but according to them and their rules, a candidate must obtain more than 50% of the vote to be declared the winner, and a runoff election has subsequently been scheduled for next week. Now, Seychelles is Africa's smallest country, a 115-island archipelago in the Indian Ocean, with a population of just over 120,000. The United Nations has confirmed on Sunday that sanctions against Iran have been reactivated. The note said that accordingly, the sanctions list maintained by the Security Council Committee, established pursuant to Resolution 1737, has been re-established and includes 43 individuals and 78 entities that were listed before the adoption of the Resolution 2231. The note listed the individuals and entities that have been added back to the United Nations Security Council consolidated sanctions list. Last month, France, Britain and Germany formally invoked the snapback mechanism, which allowed for the reimposition of UN sanctions within 30 days if Iran was deemed in breach of a 2015 nuclear deal, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Now we give you some business news.
Captain Wally J's about to take you to boot camp.
It's the riveting science and tech show that keeps you up to date with the hottest gizmos on the block and revealing the illustrious and innovative visionaries in Zimbabwe. So much to see, you'll keep swiping.
This cherry red beauty is the Dairy Auto M7 mini electric car.
We designed our brute force incubator board.
Look at what we've got here.
Solar powered scarecrow was part of the project that I was supposed to complete.
Catch Swipe every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294. Get the picture?
Harare, tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's top radio station.
Join the conversation with Zimbabwe's top personalities.
Subscribe now for fresh and infotainment content daily.
Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's heartbeat.
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. Thank you for staying with us. Now look at business. A palpable sense of pride and community spirit engulfed Zimbabwe's high-density suburb in Harare as Zimbabwe joined the world in celebrating World Tourism Day 2025. This year's theme, Tourism and Sustainable Transformation, found vibrant expression in Zimbabwe's high-energy festivities, which spotlighted township tourism, gastronomy tourism, and entertainment tourism. The celebrations offered a unique window into the authentic Zimbabwean experience from dynamic performances and traditional cuisine.
The month-long tourism celebrations culminated in a colorful grand finale at Dzivarasekwa Stadium, where Zimbabwe proudly commemorated World Tourism Day 2025. The event echoed the global call to leverage tourism as a catalyst for sustainable development, economic inclusivity, and cultural preservation. Addressing a lively crowd, Minister of Tourism and Hospitality Industry, Barbara Ruodzi, emphasized the sector's growing impact on Zimbabwe's economy, describing tourism as a significant contributor towards the national GDP, job creation, and community empowerment.
stadium iyoyi zvayagadzirwa kudai mukangonzwa kuti kustadium kune gungano imi chimhanyai monowaridza tumatende twenyu momika vanogocha votogocha vanotengesa madrinks motengesa vanotengesa mavegetables nemafruits mototengesa nekuti takugadzirirai pekushanda pakanaka.
Zimbabwe-South Africa flights have recorded the highest volume of international travel within the region, reflecting a significant resurgence in cross-border movement between the two countries. According to tourism experts, Zimbabwe and Morocco have emerged as the leading tourism destinations in Africa. This recognition underscores the notable progress Zimbabwe has made in revitalizing its tourism sector following the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Pane vakafamba vachichenechedza nyika imwe neimwe muAfrica vakabudisa mari dzavo dzekuti muAfrica mese Zimbabwe neMorocco ndidzo nyika mbiri dziri kukurudzirwa kuti vashanyi vaende nekuti dziri ready kugamuchira vashanyi.
In line with the inclusive development agenda, the minister called for increased participation of women, youth, and people with disabilities in emerging tourism streams such as township, sports, religious and culinary tourism, tapping into diverse skills, stories, and settings to enrich the visitor experience. This celebration follows the resounding success of the Sanganai Hlanganani Kumbanai Tourism Expo held in Manicaland, a platform that positioned Zimbabwe as a rising global tourism hub, attracting stakeholders from across the continent and beyond. Major infrastructural developments are paving the way for greater tourism access. The ongoing rehabilitation of key roads and the resumption of air services between Harare and Mutare demonstrates the government's firm commitment to building a world-class, well-connected tourism economy.
I have no appetite to invest where there is no sound infrastructure. So I first look at what the government is doing to develop the infrastructure. They've done roads, they've done an airport. Now it makes sense for me to go and put money in there because as private sector we rely basically on private money.
Tourism in Zimbabwe transcends leisure. It intersects with religion, sport, culture and heritage, stimulating growth in multiple sectors. Harare alone boasts iconic sites like the Zimbabwe Museum of Human Sciences, Chiremba Balancing Rocks, and the National Heroes Acre.
It is a day to acknowledge the contributions of the tourism sector to economic growth, to job creation, and cultural exchange. Harare remains open to business, and you are welcome to operate in Harare.
World Tourism Day in Zivarasekwa was more than a celebration. It was a bold declaration of Zimbabwe's tourism renaissance. The township burst into life with soulful performances from the ZRP band, infectious dance routines, and delicious local dishes, offering a genuine taste of Zimbabwe's rhythm, resilience, and radiance. Tafaras Buchiwa for ZTN Prime.
Still not look at business. The Airports Company of Zimbabwe is embarking on major infrastructure upgrades at the Joshua Mkabuko Nkomo International Airport in Bulawayo. Plans are underway to extend the runway from 2.5 kilometers to 4.5 kilometers, allowing the airport to handle larger long-haul aircraft such as Boeing 77S and Airbus A350s. Now, the Airport Company of Zimbabwe highlighted Bulawayo's strong growth potential, with passenger numbers increasing by about 20% annually. Passenger traffic is also rising sharply, with numbers expected to surpass last year's 188,000 travelers. A new cargo village with cold storage facilities for exports and terminal upgrades are also part of this upgrade.
Though we had a limiting factor, which is small, but we are working on it. Our runway is 2.5 kilometers only, so it cannot accommodate the large long-haul aircrafts. Was mostly they use the 777s. Our runway can't accommodate the Boeing 777 or the A350s, which they normally use on their long-haul flights. That's why Ethiopian is using a smaller equipment into Bulawayo. But plans are there, and we've been requesting assistance from the government to extend the runway 1 kilometer each side to make it 4.5 kilometers, so that it becomes the second largest runway in the country. Arajinga, the runway is 4.725. Victoria Falls is 4 kilometers. But here we are planning to have a 4.5 kilometer runway. So we're just doing the funding modalities, but
meanwhile, the government of India has reaffirmed its commitment to Zimbabwe's development, spotlighting the country as a promising destination for investment as India is strengthening its partnership with Zimbabwe, paving the way for expanded collaboration across energy, education and cultural exchange. Now, this was said by His Excellency Indian Ambassador to Zimbabwe, Mr. Brahma Kumar.
You already know that Jindal Power is entering in Zimbabwe's electricity segment, and there are many more for which detail I will share later. But it shows that Zimbabwe is a promising country for Indians, and there are a lot of things which is happening between our countries, not only politically and economically, but also to bring our people closer more and more, like in skilling and vocational training. India is extending a lot of supports. Whatever we can do, we are doing. Under Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation, we offer around 270 scholarships to the civilian and defense domain of Government of Zimbabwe. Other than that, this Indian Council for Cultural Relations also offers 10 to 12 scholarships every year for promising Zimbabwean students.
Now, Banenga Holdings posted solid half-year results to June 30 of 2025, underpinned by higher gold production as the Delaglio mining subsidiary and stable performance from the crocodile skin operations. The group recorded a sharp increase in profitability, with earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization jumping 142% to $52.1 million. That's from $21.5 million in the prior period. And I will give you some entertainment news. Sunday saw Vumba Gateway Gardens come to life as they hosted the highly anticipated Ladies Summer Splash, a vibrant carnival that was unforgettable. The show was well attended by ladies from Mutare and beyond and was hosted by Monica Post and Diamond FM. Here's a snippet of the main headliner Nyasha David's performance. Now, something else was happening over the weekend as Harare was alive with harmonious energy as some of Zimbabwe's most talented choirs converged for the Tiromopane National Choir Festival, a competition that has become one of the country's most prestigious platforms for choral music. This year's edition saw 16 choirs from across Zimbabwe, including Vox from Mashingo, Dosa from Mutare, Blawe Choiristas, Chinoi's Finest, and many others lock horn in what was a breathtaking battle of voices, precision, and artistry. Chitungi's harmony singers and glorious melodies emerged victorious from this competition, each walking away with the coveted 10,000 Rand prize. Now, from roaring engines to timeless designs, thousands of car enthusiasts flocked to Nairobi's Gong Race course for the 2025 Concours d'Elegance, Africa's leading showcase of classic cars and motorcycles. Among the standout entries was the 1934 Rolls-Royce Boattail, with its owner noting that a family had entered 4 vehicles into that competition this year.
Entered with my father's car collection. There's four cars in total. This is by far my favourite, 1934 Rolls-Royce Boattail, 2025 horsepower. I've always driven this car, always had a deep love for this car, so we're really hoping to do well, but there's some very stiff competition out there, so we're keeping fingers crossed.
Now we give you some sporting action. We start off with some football. Star 1 forward Washington Navaya was back amongst the goals this weekend, netting a crucial brace against Yada. With the season winding down, Navaya not only leads the Golden Boot race, but is now officially making his pitch for a spot on the Warrior squad.
Star 1 forward Washington Navaya just won't stop scoring. After netting a crucial brace and a side's 2-1 win away to Yada on Saturday, Navaya continues to lead the race for the Premier Soccer League Golden Boot. He tops the goal-scoring charts with 15 goals, a clear 3 ahead of Scotland's Timo Machobe and Moors forward Billy Veremo, both locked on 12. Born and raised in Gweru, Navaya credits hometown support for his incredible form, a run that's helped Tel 1 cement a spot in the top half of the table this season. With the season winding down, Navaya wants to finish strong and claim the Golden Boot. Whilst he remained shy about chasing the elusive 20-goal mark, he was wide open about his ultimate ambition, securing a place in the national team. If he keeps up the scoring pace, Washington Navaya may not just be taking home the Golden Boot. He'll be knocking straight on the Warriors' door.
Now, Dynamos continued their push for survival, edging crosstown rivals Caps United 1-0 at Rufaro on Sunday to move 2 points up the table to 15th place. Jairos Kasondo's second half header was the difference, earning Dynamos the 3 points and drawing them level with Caps United on 32 points with 5 matches remaining in the season. Dynamos are now unbeaten in 9 matches in all competitions since Kelvin Kaindo took charge 2 months ago. Club captain Emmanuel Jalai admits it has been a tough season, while insisting the battle for survival is far from done.
But credit to the guys, it's been a long way, considering where we were and now where we are. And it's not easy, but also it's not good enough. We have to keep on working hard until the last game of the season. Yeah, this is my first season to fight the relegation since I joined the tournament. But it's football. You have to anticipate anything and everything can happen in football. We are here because it's our job. We have to take every situation as it comes. But what is important is to focus and take every game as it comes.
Now, Jalai has been one of the standout players for Dynamos this season and is targeting a strong finish with an eye on the place in the Warriors squad for the AFCON finals in December.
To be honest, it has been a tough first half of the season. As a player, when you accept the leadership for Dynamos, you will not be expecting a run like we were in the first round. Like I said, it's football. Anything can happen. What is important, how you pick yourselves after the phase that we have been in. I have to keep on working hard and improve myself each and every game. Only God knows what is in the future. For now, I'll concentrate with the club level and see how it goes.
Still with football news, Highlanders were held to a 1-1 draw at home by ZPC Kariba to bring them down to earth after a big win last week in cup competition. Bozo had to come from behind to seal a point, which moved them to 34 points, 6 short of head coach Pete Jijong's 40-point target for survival.
The glass is sometimes empty and sometimes is a glass full. And I think, as you look to the game, yeah, I told him that I was after the game very hungry to the players because this is ook a game that you can lose because the top focus is in it, the top focus. And I'm too long coach, yeah, to know what the reason is. The reason is you come from a cup game, you win a cup game, it's past. Maar players, en I saw it on the training, can ask what ik say. Guys, it's not good, the focus is not good. I understand very well wanneer je dat doet against een topteam als Scotland met stars, dat je dan maybe too much respect hebt. Dat is automatic, dat is happen, dat is in every country, is dat happen. Maar today, respect voor Kariba, niet je gewoon from the blow, je niet eager, je niet show dat je duels win.
Now, still looking at what's happening in the PSL, Moors recorded their third win in a row, beating already relegated Quaker United 1-0 at Hartscourt on Saturday. Billy Veremo was on target for the Panthers with his 11th goal of the season, taking his side to third on log and to within 4 points of log leader Scotland with 5 matches to go. In other results, Scotland opened matchday 29 with a 1-0 win over Manica Diamonds. Bikita drew 1-1 with FC Platinum at Gibbo. Ngezi were held to a goalless draw by Herentals, while Green Fuel stunned Chicken Inn 2-1 in Chisumbanji. Scotland leads the standings on 56 points, just one above Zimbabwe, who have a game in hand. Moors closed in on the top to keep the title race alive with 5 matches to go. Ngezi Platinum Stars dropped points but remain in contention with 15 points still up for grabs. Dynamo sucked Caps United into the relegation dogfight with only goal difference separating the two teams, as well as Triangle United. Now 3 more teams are stuck on 33 points, while Highlanders, who are in 9th place, are still in danger. ZPC Kariba are only 2 points away from safety, with Quaker United the only team that has been relegated so far. Now, Zimbabwe's CAF Championship League campaign ended in heartbreak on Sunday when they fell 4-2 on penalties to Nsingizini Hotspurs at Somlolo's National Stadium in Eswatini. The Zimbabwe champions had gone into the second leg with a slender 1-0 advantage, but a last-gasp strike from Kosimpingile Nkushongwe leveled the tie 1-1, forcing some penalties. In the shootout, Simba captain Blessing Moyo and substitute Tampio Madinyenya missed, with Nsingizini converting all theirs. Simba coach Joel Lupahla was disappointed with his side's exit at the preliminary round.
What's disappointing is that we had to concede with 3 or 4 minutes to go, and I think mental fatigue crept in. It's been difficult the way we have traveled, but we can't run away from the disappointment that we've had. I know that the nation, the whole of Zimbabwe, was rooting on us, and to concede with 3 or 4 minutes to go and then we lose it on penalties. It's a hard pill to swallow. For us, this is our third, I think, this is our 4th game that we've lost on penalties. So you try as a coach to try and avoid such situations because you know your weaknesses and the strength. But I think the boys played good football. In the first half, we had opportunities that I felt that maybe we could have buried them.
Lupahla added that they will now focus on the PSA title race back home as they look to bounce back in the Champions League next season.
I think inexperience, both on my part as the first. This is my first year as a head coach, and I think that inexperience and also the inexperience of some of the boys, it counted on the result. But I'm sure everybody that saw this team play, they could see that.
Well, with that, we call it a night and we conclude tonight's bulletin. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Faith Nyaude. We leave you with the weather forecast. Good evening and enjoy the rest of your viewing.